guys and gals, and welcome to another video from the team here at BlenderTech.com. If you enjoyed or learned something from a video, consider liking it and consider subscribing for more Blender, Unity 3D, coding, and all sorts of other CG related videos. Lastly, don't forget our motto, create your way. So today I want to show you how to set up a render farm without going through fancy networking and VNC and remote desktop whatever stuff. I just want to simply show you how to do it if you're using Windows and if you have a network already set up. If you don't have a home group set up, I suggest you Google it. It's really quite easy and it'll make it so much easier. If you're using a Mac, there's a lot of other tutorials out there, and Linux I really don't know a lot about, so the same deal, I would go search something else out, but I'm going to show you how to do it as long as you have a home group set up. So I have my PC, which is Derek PC, and then I have in my home group my laptop too, Derek Mobile, and I have a couple other computers, some Macs and stuff in my network connected to the router, but they're not set up for my Windows network. So anyways, as long as you have a network of some type set up so that you can view your computers, then you're good to go. One thing to note, going over wireless is a little slow, so obviously if it's wired up physically, then you're going to be better off, but really with the modern wireless technology, it's not too much to worry. Also, this really only comes in handy when you're rendering animations and the frames are taking multiple minutes to render. Then it might be helpful, and it's usually helpful if you have more than one spare computer. For example, if I was going to render out a huge cutscene for a game or something, I would want to set up both my Macs, my laptop, my old PC, and this PC to all do the rendering. So anyways, on my main PC here, we're going to open up 2 instances of Blender, one to be the master server, one to be the client. And on our second computer, so on my laptop, I'm going to open up Blender as well, and it's going to be a slave. So I will explain what all this means as we go along. I can't show you my laptop screen. Well, I could, but I think things will make sense, and if not, I can make an updated video. So anyways, we're going to open up 2 instances of Blender. So the first one I'm going to open up, I'm gonna remember that it is the master. So I'm actually gonna resize it and bring it over to the left side of the screen, something like that. And then I'm gonna open up another instance, and this is gonna be our client. This is what we're actually gonna render out. This is the scene that we're gonna send as a job to be rendered on all of our slaves. So I'm going to keep this on the right side, and then in the middle we have our browser. And so you'll see once we get everything set up that it allows you to basically remotely see what's going on. So anyways, the first thing you obviously need to do on each machine is go into user preferences and then enable the network render add-on, this one right here. The way you enable a network render is on every machine that's going to be a part of this, go to the render engine and choose network render, and you'll see our render settings change severely. So do that on every computer, and then out of habit, I'm not sure if it makes a difference, but I just hit cycles on master, slaves, and clients. So I hit cycles, I hit save before job, and I'm good there. So I do that on every single machine. So same over here, I'm gonna do the same. This is my client one. And so right now we have no master at specified address. This is gonna be our master. And a master could be a secondary computer, it could be a server somewhere, It could be anywhere, but I'm running the master and the client on the same computer, and then I'm running my laptop as my slave. So on my laptop, I've got the exact same thing. I've got a Blender window open. I'm doing the same thing. I'm choosing the cycles engine and hitting save before job. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is go to master on each of my machines and choose clear on exit and force dependency upload. I'm not sure 100% what they mean, but they sounded important to me and they've been working fine for me, so that's what I've been doing. So I'm going to do that on this one as well, and on my laptop as well. I'm going to check those services off. So now I'm going to actually set everything up. This being our master machine, our master instance of Blender, we're going to hit start service. And so you'll see it comes up with basically just a render scene that you would normally get. But in the info bar, you see it has render, but it's not doing anything. That's just letting you know that it is running. And then if we go into our web browser, refresh, we have our little I don't know what you call it. Anyways, so we have our master service started, and so the address is default, so whatever the IP address happens to be on the default port of 8000, I believe. Yep. And then there's path. This really doesn't matter too much, but I like to set it up on all machines to something memorable when I'm first learning. So something like C/render farm. So I'll do that on each machine. Over here I'm gonna go C/render farm, and I'll do the same on my laptop. This on this one and my laptop, I'm not gonna hit start service for master, however. Anyways, moving on to the client, which is obviously on the same machine here, we're going to hit refresh and it'll pick up our master server. So this refresh button, you'll see we get all these options now. So that means it's connected to the master server. And again, make sure we have cycles, and we're sending a Blender type job. And not a lot else really matters here. Open master monitor is how you get this view here. I guess, yeah, that's what you call it, a monitoring page. You can hit refresh here to see if you have any slaves running. You can blacklist slaves, and you can hit refresh here to see if there's any current jobs. And also for output I just leave alone. Sorry, that doesn't matter here. On my laptop, so we'll just pretend I'm on my laptop now. I would set it up as a slave. So what I would do on my laptop is simple. I would just hit refresh to pick up the master rendered network service. And then I would hit start service to start the slave networking service, network rendering service. After that, you should see, let me just check my laptop quickly. It should say, you'll get a similar screen to our master here. It's just obviously you'll have this slave tab in view, and it should say, it'll say initializing, and then it'll say network render connected to master, waiting for jobs. So you know that we're good to go. So back to our client, where we're actually going to be rendering from. Let's set something up quick to render. So we just have a basic cube here. So just to make sure it's working, I'm actually going to change its color to bright gray. Now you can't do this while you have the network render set. So I have to change it back to cycles, change its diffuse color to bright. I'll go bright blue because I've already done a green one just to make sure it's working. And then I'm going to go back to network render and go back to the render tab. So I'm the client here. I'm just going to refresh to make sure we're still connected. It says master server found, so we're all good. And so we are good to go now. We can refresh our slaves, and we see we have Derek Mobile, my laptop. jobs too. You can refresh to see if there's any jobs, but we don't have any at the moment. And then if we go to our little browser window, you'll see that it now has, under slaves, it has my laptop set up as a slave, and it's seeing it. So, and then our jobs will show up under jobs. Anyways, now to actually send a job and get it rendered across the network, all you do is hit send. If you're just doing a single frame, obviously this is the simplest. You would obviously want to send a animation job or whatever, like start rendering an animation. I don't see why you would need to render a single frame on the network unless a single frame was taking you like hours and days. Anyways, so we're just gonna hit send current frame job. Now it should give us an error. Current file path not defined. Save your file before sending a job. So this is basically just saying you need to save your .blend file so it basically just knows where everything is. So we're just gonna save this as something. I'm gonna save it as renderfarm2.blend. So I'm gonna hit send current frame job, so it'll render this current frame. So whatever we see in the camera view, obviously on frame 1, just like this. So I'm gonna send that current frame job. You'll see it pop up over here, and we get some stats on it. You'll see the priority of my laptop should go up. My laptop says that it says render file, render farm 2 job 1, or it says it's rendering render farm 2.blend as job 1. So there we go, it's now finished the render, and my laptop's now saying that it's waiting for a job again. So how do we get it? What happened to it? Where did it go? Well, all we do now is on our client we just hit get image, and so that is the rendered image that our client, or our slaves, or slaves if you have multiple, rendered. All I want to do is save this image, and you're good to go. Now if we go to the directory c/render farm, it creates an output.exr which doesn't seem to have any actual render data on it. So that's why I checked off those delete files, whatever things, just to make sure that those aren't sticking around on all my computers. Now if we wanted to do a animation, it's fairly similar. So on my client, I am simply going to change the color this time to make sure it's working to pink. For the girls that are watching, about 7% of my viewers, and we're just going to make a simple animation. So I'm going to insert a keyframe here. I'm going to move up 10 frames. Now I'm going to move it and insert another keyframe. Under my render settings, I am going to just set the end frame to 10 so that it's not rendering unneeded frames. And then I'm going to go back to network render, go to the render tab, refresh to make sure we're still connected, refresh to make sure our slave's still good, refresh to see if there's any jobs. Well, that job's still sitting there, so we can hit this to cancel all the running jobs, because otherwise sometimes they can seem to get in the way oddly. I don't know if this is just a problem with me, but now that job's gone, it's just sometimes it seems that they, like, a previous job seems to prevent new jobs from being rendered. So now we are gonna hit render animation on network. So it's gonna send the job. It's currently queued. It's got a total of 10 frames to do with 0 done so far. The time started, how long we've been waiting. So I'm just gonna wait for it to do 1 frame, and then I'll pause it and we'll wait for it to finish. If we hit refresh here on our clients, we can see render farm 2.blend. Looks like we're actually getting the results slowly one by one. You can see it's moved to frame 2. So there we go, yeah, it's done 1. And so it's moved on to frame 2 here in the client. So I'm just gonna pause it and wait for it to finish. So it's done 2 now, so we're on frame 3, so you get to see the results on the client. So it's taking about 30 seconds for this simple frame plus network time, which is quite slow compared to what I could do on the client. But again, if your scenes are taking hours upon hours or days, this is going to be a huge benefit to you, especially if you have more than one extra computer or you have access to any type of network. Maybe you rent a server out. Maybe you own a server farm. Maybe you have access to a huge computer lab after hours, something like that. As long as everything can run Blender, you're good to go. It says it's done 9, that's done 10, it's finished, so it should be good. We have all 10 frames here. So I will try and see what happens when we hit get animation. So yeah, it's just getting the 10 frames. So now these are actually properly on my client, on my main computer here. And so yeah, I believe since I set its output as PNGs, if we go back to cycles, I set the output as PNGs instead of a movie. So to fix that, to get an actual animation, we would have to go into the movie clip editor, and then we would have to open that sequence of frames. That'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Make sure that's right. Looks good. So I'd open them, and I should now have an animation on my client. Perfect, just like that. Anyways, that is that. Now let's see if it can actually handle doing a video render. So as usual, I'm gonna set up my usual settings. So MPEG format encoded in H.264. So let's try this again, starting at frame 1, 10 frames. Just for the test, actually, I'm only gonna go 5 frames. I'm gonna do a custom frame rate of 2 frames per, well, one frame per second, a 5-second animation. Let's see if that makes a difference. So back to network render. Just gonna, whoops, refresh to make sure my slave's there. See my job. I'm gonna get rid of that job. So I'm gonna get rid of that job so it doesn't get in the way, and I'm gonna assign this new job. So just animation on network. All right, so it's done 4 of 5. We're almost done. There we go, finished. So let's see, get animation. So it's downloading it from the network. There we go. So let me go into my /tmp folder. And it is currently 1028. This was modified at 1025 and created at 1025. Say this one was last modified on 1028, so it must be this one. And again, these ones have the weird time, but they were part of the render. So let's see. Looks like it worked. As far as I can tell, we got our 5 frames. So yeah, just like that. And again, you can have as many slaves as you want, I believe. So if you have extra computers kicking around and you're doing huge amounts of or you're doing renders of animations and frames are taking forever, consider setting up a small render farm with all your extra computers. And especially if you're using Windows and you already have a network set up, like I use my network mostly for my smart TV, so I can watch tutorials and stuff on my TV when I want to, when I'm relaxing. And such, I don't use it really for sending files as it's quite slow over wireless, but yeah, this can definitely save you some time. So that is the basics of a render farm. I hope this helped you guys out, and it's not complete. If you want a complete overview of it, there's setting up a render farm that someone did. Oh, who was it? I can't remember. I think it's from Blender Cookie. yeah, BlenderCookie.com, Kent Trammell did Sending Up a Render Farm. So Google that, and he shows you how to do it on Windows, Mac, or Linux using VNC, so that you can basically control all of your computers from one. And he sets up basically a mini render farm in his house using just a cabinet, an Ethernet hub, a power strip, and then six little computers. So six CPUs, 6 sticks of RAM, 6 motherboards, 6 hard drives, 6 power supplies, six fans, 6 power buttons, 6 LEDs, and 6 Ethernet cables. So kind of cool, and he did it on the cheap. So the course comes with a nice hour-long video on everything in 720p and a big PFD that you can read about everything. So very, very useful if you want to get more technical. But if you have a home group set up on Windows, then this is more than good enough for your need. I'm not a Mac hater. I don't like using them. I'm used to Windows. I always have been, and I'm not geeky enough for Linux, so I just had all this ready for Windows, so I wanted to show you guys how to do it. So I hope it did teach you something, or you learned a bit more about network rendering. So thanks for watching from the team here at BlenderTech.com. If you enjoyed this video and learned something, consider liking it and consider subscribing for more videos. We're now on Twitter at twitter.com/blender_tech and Facebook at facebook.com/blendertechpage, all one word. This is one video in a series that I'm going to try to go back to what people were saying they liked, where I, instead of saying how to create this in Blender, I actually just go over an actual feature of Blender in detail. I was getting good responses from those videos, so I'm going to try to do more of them. Anyways, if you dislike this video for some reason, don't just hit the thumbs down button and leave. Instead, tell us why in a comment, or if it's private, in an email at info@blendertech.com, so that we can continually improve our videos based on your community input. We also take requests for tutorials and call for help videos, so if you're having an issue, just give us a jingle, or if you want to see something, let us know. We'll put it on the list. So see you next time, and remember, create your way.